Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We are a small gathering here in our sanctuary this morning, and so glad to see also those of you on Zoom. We do have a minion for those in the room who want to know. And today turned out to be really different than we thought. And, you know, I just feel like Shabbat comes every 7 days, whatever else is going on in the world, here comes Shabbat again. We were supposed to do this Shabbat be celebrating our 6th grade or 2023 B'nai Mitzvah class retreat. And we were going to get together in the park yesterday afternoon, and we had all kinds of activities for the kids. And there's some things on the Bima still that are set up from the scavenger hunt the kids were going to have last night. And we had all these plans for all these wonderful things to do yesterday and today. They were all going to be here this morning. We're going to have a learner's service this morning with everybody being able to ask all kinds of questions. And we have 86th graders at CBE this year. It's a really big class, and a good portion of them and their parents were going to be here today. And we had to call it off in the middle of yesterday, just because there's so much uncertainty right now and people are afraid. But Shabbat continues. Whatever else is going on, we still have Shabbat. So we get to sink into that rhythm that comes every week, no matter what else is going on. We get this promise every single week that there's going to be, that you get this taste of peace that is a little bit of a taste of the world to come. Someday the world is going to be filled with peace and justice and love and kindness and goodness, and we taste that every 7 days. And so we're going to do that this morning, knowing the world is so far from that perfected place. So many different, we can make a big list of all the things that aren't as they should be, but today we put on a different kind of glasses. We see through a different kind of lens, and the lens we see through is all that's good in the world as it is, all that's beautiful, all that's miraculous, all that's wondrous, all that's worthy of gratitude, all that makes us joyous. We're going to find that together this morning. We find it partially through the words of our prayer book, which guide us to gratitude. Just like, over and over and over again. Remind us, oh yeah. We're going to go next to blessing gratitude for our bodies, like reminding ourselves, like, wow, there are miracles. There are miracles, the body. And then we're going to go from there to talk about, we're going to chant the blessings of the morning that we chant every morning. There are so many things that are miracles every single day, just in waking up, just in moving, just in seeing, just in being alive. And we're going to go from there into Psalm 150, in which we're going to rouse ourselves. Rouse ourselves into song, into hallelujah. Wow. Wow, God. Wow, you are worthy of praise, because this life is worthy of praise, and we have voices that we can use to praise, so we're going to do that. And that's how we're going to begin this morning. And I see some people already on the chat out there on Zoom are saying Shabbat Shalom to each other. So why don't you do that if you're out there on the Zoom? Say Shabbat Shalom to each other, greet each other, and we here in the room, Shabbat Shalom to those gathered. Let's sing about our bodies right now.
I thank you for my life, body and soul. Help me realize I am beautiful and whole. I'm perfect the way I am, and a little broken too. I will live each day as a gift I give to you. בין לילה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, פוקח עברים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, מתיר אסורים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, זוקף כפופים. 200. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, רוקע הארץ על המים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המכין מצעדי גבר. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, מלביש ערומים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, הנותן ליעב כוח. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המעביר שינה מעיני, טומאה מאף עפי, תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני בצלם אלוהים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני בן חורין. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשני ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוזר ישראל בגבורה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, עוטר ישראל בתפארה. I invite you to get a bit more comfortable if you can. It's okay to stretch out and move your body even more. Loosen up. 2:18. Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
A while ago, we had at this moment this thing we called a breath of Torah. I'm going to give us a little breath of Torah right here. So today in Daf Yomi, we know Jewish people do this thing where we read a page of Talmud every day through all the Masechtot until we get to the end, and it takes 7 years to do that. And today we're in Masechet Megillah, which is about Torah, the Megillah reading. But somehow today we're on a different topic, which happens often in Talmud, and Zebulun, one of Jacob's sons, who gets blessed in this week's portion, as Jacob is going to die in this week's portion, and he gives a blessing to his sons as he's preparing to die. Zebulun complains to God, because all of the children of Jacob, they each have a territory in the land of Israel that becomes their tribal territory. And Zebulun complains because he says, all my brothers got pasture lands or vineyards, places where they could grow things, they could have crops, they could have livestock, but I have mountains and rivers. It's not fair, because what am I supposed to grow? It's rocky, it's steep, it's rivers, I can't grow anything in the rivers. And God says to Zebulun, but you have the Hilazon. In your rivers, in your streams, there's a little snail, and the little snail makes a special blue substance that is used as a dye, and that dye is the color of the sky, or maybe the horizon. And that color is supposed to be the color that we make one thread of the tzitzit out of. And you have that, and the people of Israel are going to need that forever, and that is your treasure. That is your particular treasure. Now, over the years, we have lost the ability to make that color, and we just have white tzitzit. But Zebulun had in his territory this secret treasure inside the rivers, inside the snails, this special color that existed only there. And I think that's a really, really nice idea for Shabbat, which is that whatever else is going on in our world, on Shabbat we look for the hidden treasures that are there all along. That if we're just looking at it, we think, I've got no arable land. I can't make a crop here, I can't pasture sheep here. But you have this shell, this snail in a shell in the river that you didn't know was there, and it makes this color that exists only there. Only there. And it's like the color of the sky. So this morning on this Shabbat, our day is not as we wanted it to be, our week is not as we wanted it to be. Lots of things are different than we want them to be. We could say, it's all terrible. But on Shabbat, we can also say, what's the hidden treasure? What can I find in the stream running through my land that I would never know was there? That's like the color of the sky. That's the Shabbat challenge I'm giving you this morning. So with that in mind, let's turn to page 224, and Chatzi Kaddish. And if we're here in the room, please rise. Please join me on the top of page 229 in English. In the beginning, even then, a new light was sown for the righteous. Promise that your light would become the catalyst, first for order and then for hope. Author of language and light, help us to use words as you have, to cast light into dark waters and draw out justice and truth. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaNeorot. Our next prayer is Ahava Rabbah. The second paragraph of this prayer talks about gluing our hearts to the mitzvot. Dabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha. Second line of the second paragraph on the page. This idea that we want to cling, we want to glue, we want to adhere our hearts to the ways of life of our people. So this morning, maybe as we're praying, you might think about your heart connecting to some aspect of being Jewish that you love, some way of life, the Jewish people that you want to cling today. You want to feel very glued to your together.
בשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמן. 240. מי כמוך, אלוהים אדוני, מי כמוך, נתן הקודש, נורא זהירות, עוסק בשירה חדשה, שיפור גבוהים לשבתך, על שפת היה, יחד כולם הודו והגידו, והאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. Please rise if you're able. צור ישראל, בעזרת ישראל, ובדרך לאומך יהודה לישראל. גואלנו, אדוני צבאות שלום, קדוש ישראל ברוך, אתה אדוני גר ישראל. 242. Adonai Selamai Tiftach, Ufi Yadi Tehillatena. Adonai open my eyes, that I may declare your praise. Continue praying silently through page 261, and we finish with the seed. Page 252. It's Shabbat, so we're going to go unplugged for a little bit. Special prayer for the sanctity of this very day. Eloheinu, ve'Elohei Avoteinu, ve'Imoteinu, Retzei, Retzei, v'menuchateinu, קדשנו במצוותיך, ותן חלקנו בתורתך, שבענו מטובך, ושמחנו בישועתך, וטהר ליבנו לעובדך, לעובדך באמת. והנחילנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה וברצון שבת קודשך, וינוחו בך ישראל מקדשי שמך. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Days like today when things are different than we expected, that we have room to do things like that. Thank you. We're going to be turning to our Torah service in a few moments, but first we have some greetings and announcements from our President John Reynolds.
Shabbat Shalom. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I want to welcome you all here this morning in person and those of us joining virtually. As always, I want to thank our clergy. Thank you, Rabbi Timoner, Cantor Breitzer, for leading us this morning. I want to thank our now permanent Executive Director, Mark Flaxer, and his staff for allowing us to be in community today and every day. I want to thank Ben Kern, who is our virtual usher today. Thank you, Ben. And no real announcements other than a reminder that Shabbat services both Friday night and Saturday night. The next 2 weekends will be virtual only. And then everything else you can want to learn about CBE is available through the advisory, or you can go to our website at cbebk.org. And so Shabbat Shalom.
I want to also just make it clear, it's the evening services, these coming Shabbat, and the morning services are all going to be on Zoom and virtual. Little did we know that's our whole city was going to be doing that. So we're coming to our Torah service, and some of you might not know that, I said this at the beginning of the service, but if you came in later, we were originally going to be having a very different morning this morning. We were having our 6th grade retreat, and huge number of kids and parents, and our Torah service was going to involve lots of those families being involved, but they're not here this morning. We had to cancel it yesterday. And so I'm looking for some volunteers if anybody wants to help me out with the Torah service. So here are the things that we could benefit from if anybody wants to do this. So we can come up to the Ark with me and take the Torah out and do the Shema and the Haggadah. Somebody could, we already have a Torah reader, thank you, Gary, so much. Somebody could, if anybody wants to volunteer to make the Aliyah, you could do that, to make the blessing before and after we read Torah. And this one Aliyah. And then otherwise we need someone to lift the Torah this morning. So who would like to take the Torah out and do the Shema? Excellent, thank you. And who would like to lift the Torah? John, and anybody want to do the Aliyah? All right, Len. Fabulous. Okay, page 362. You guys, Torah service.
Amen.
All right, as I mentioned before, we are reading from the very last portion in the book of Genesis, Vayehi. This portion begins, and it really is entirely about Jacob's death, the end of his life and his death. And we have Gary Schiffers reading Torah. He's going to be reading from chapter 47, verse 28. That's where he's going to begin, 47:28. And that's on page 306 of your Torah commentaries. And Len Harris is going to come up for the Aliyah. And the part that Gary's going to read includes the idea. Jacob is asking Joseph to do him a kindness, to bring his body up out of Egypt and make sure that he's buried in the king of Machpelah with his ancestors. And he calls it chesed ve'emet, kindness and truth. And the idea here is that the true form of chesed is the truest form of chesed, is one that one does for a person after they've died, because you know that you cannot be repaid. You know It's a very pure form of chesed that it's never going to be an exchange. It's only going to be a gift. So, get Gary ready to chant.
Tamod. Le'abachaim v'liba l'aliyah l'Torah.
Baruch Adonai
Baruch Adonai Baruch le'olam va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayehi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim sheva esrei shana. Vayehi yimei Yaakov shenei chayav sheva shanim v'arbaim umat shana. Vayikrevu yimei Yisrael lamud vayikra livno Yosef. Vayomer lo imna matzati hen ve'enecha simna yadecha tachat yirehi va'asita imati chesed ve'emet al nati kreveni b'mitzrayim vayish v'shachavti im avotai unshatani mimitzrayim ukvartani bikuratam vayomer Anohi esechi barecha, vayomer hishavaa li, vayishava lo, vayishtachu Yisrael arosh hamita, vayehi acharei hadvarim ha'ele, vayomer Yosef, hinei avicha chovei, Vayikach et shnei mincha banav imo et Menashe et Ephraim. Vayagel Yaakov vayomer hinei mincha Yosef ba'alecha v'chazek Yisrael Vayeshev al hamita, Vayomer Yaakov el Yosef el Shaddai, Nira Elai baluz be'eretz Canaan vayivarechoti. Vayomer Elai hineni mafrecha v'hirbiticha untaticha V'kal amin v'natati et haaretz hazo v'zaracha acharecha achuzat olam.
Shikoah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Shikoah.
All right, we're going to take a moment with this Torah here in our midst. We have a number of members who are really struggling in need of healing. And you may know people in your own life, in addition to those you know in our community. Take a moment from Yeshua, drawing on the strength of this Torah, all the ways that it's sustained our people over time. Pray Yeshua together on page 371, and we'll pause in the middle and you can call out any names you're thinking about, and if you're on Zoom, you can write those names in the chat.
May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing and and let us say, Amen.
You're thinking of someone who can say their name.
Yisheberach Imoteinu Mekor habracha Lavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We're ready now to lift and dress our Torah. John Horowitz, come up and lift, and I'll dress. Please rise.
Page 370. Vezot haTorah shesam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai beyad Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 tziva lanu Moshe. Torah shakeilat Yaakov, Torah shakeilat Yaakov, Torah shakeilat Yaakov, Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Elanai, 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 please be seated. Haftarah for this morning can be found on page 323, book of 1 Kings, chapter 2, starting at verse 1. As many of us know, the selection of Haftarah is often thematically related to stories or themes or characters or life moments in the Parsha, and this is one of the more obvious parallels here. We see in the Parsha the end of Yaakov's life and later the end of Yosef's life, and here we have David HaMelech, King David, near the end of his life, and the blessing that he bestows on his son in the same way that Yaakov and Yosef bestow blessings on their sons. So page 323, 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 1. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratza v'divreihem הנאמרים באמת, ברוך אתה, אדוני, הבוחר בתורה, ובמשה עבדו, ובישראל עמו, ובנביאי האמת והצדק. ויקרבו ימי דוד למות, ויצב את שלמה בנו לאמור. אנוכי הולך בדרך כל הארץ, וחזקת והיית לאיש, ושמרת את משמרת אדוני אלוהיך, ללכת בדרכיו, לשמור חוקותיו, מצוותיו, ומשפטיו ועדותיו, ככתוב בתורת משה, למען תשכיל את כל אשר תעשה, ואת כל אשר תפנה שם. למען יקים אדוני את דברו, אשר דיבר עלי לאמור. אם ישמרו בניך את דרכם, ללכת לפני באמת, בכל לבבם ובכל נפשם, לאמור, לא יכרת לך איש, מעל כיסא ישראל, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדברות, היה נאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים, והיום השבת הזה, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ותפארת, על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
So, we were going to be having one of my favorite things that we do here at CBE. We're going to be having it this weekend. We have 80 kids in our 6th grade class this year, which is the biggest we've ever had. Huge number of them were planning to come to the park yesterday afternoon for an early pizza and Malamar dinner, and then have an evening of activities here, and their parents were going to gather and have a chance to tell their own stories of becoming B'nai Mitzvah, and the kids were going to be able to be on this whole set of really, really creative exercises that our educators came up with about what it means to go through a rite of passage and what it was going to mean for them, what they wanted it to mean for them. This morning they were going to be here, and our service was going to be a learner service. It wasn't going to be a regular service. We were just going to have the whole time everybody be able to ask questions and learn about all the things you've ever wondered about Shabbat morning. And then we were going to spend the rest of the day together, all the way to Havdalah, and that got canceled yesterday. And I don't know about you all, but I'm feeling with this particular wave, it's a way that it's kind of breaking me. Like I'm feeling like just out of steam and really, really frustrated. So I was thinking about the Parsha in relationship to this moment for us. And one of the things I came across was that there's something that's said in this week's Parsha that is a parallel exactly to the same phrase said several Parshas ago in Parshat Vay. In Parshat Vay, Jacob says to Rachel comes to Jacob really frustrated because she cannot conceive a child. And she says to him, you have to give me a child. And he gets angry. And he says, Hatachat Elohim Anochi? Am I in God's place? In other words, am I God? Like, I'm trying. I can't. It's not working. He's angry. He's frustrated. He's at the end of his rope. And his response is, I'm not God. This is out of my hands. I don't have control over this. And so they come up with a plan that he will have children through Bilhah, which we could give a whole that whole question, but we're not going to do that today. But his response is, I don't have the power to make this happen for you. I am trying. I am out of efforts here. This is out of my hands. I don't have control. This week in Torah, Jacob dies. He blesses his children. He dies. They go to bury him up in Canaan after a long period of mourning. And all the brothers together. And on the way back, Midrash has a couple different understandings of what exactly happens, but when they're either on the way back or when they get back, the brothers panic. And they send a messenger, several messengers, to Joseph. And And they say, the messengers say, Jacob told us to send you this message before he died, which is don't begrudge your brothers for what they did to you. Don't take vengeance on them. Because and Joseph's response to this is to weep. And he then has a conversation with his brothers in which he says, Hatachat Elohim Anochi, am I God? And then goes on to say, he starts by saying, Al Tirabu, don't be afraid. Hatachat Elohim Anochi, my God. What you did was God's work. This is the second or third time he said this. What you did was God's work. You brought me here to be able to save many lives. I will always take care of you and your children. And so I was thinking about this in relationship to our mother. Joseph, more than any other character in Genesis, has a sense of what is outside of his control, what he attributes to God's action. He is able to totally forgive and release any anger, any frustration, any grudge, any feeling of vengeance against his brothers, because he sees his life events as being out of his control, as just being bigger than him, and he is willing to surrender to them. And in surrendering to them, he is able to find meaning in them. And so this, of course, is speaking to me right now, and I feel like, well, I want to rail against what's happening. I want it to be otherwise. I fought yesterday to keep this retreat happening. I came up with a whole plan, and it was an elaborate plan that was going to make it safe, and I fought, and then it turned out people were just too afraid they weren't going to come, and I just had to throw in the towel and surrender and just give up. Okay, it's just not going to happen. It's out of my control. And I think that I'm saying this because I'm guessing that you may not be running a 6th grade retreat, but you probably have other things in your life where you're having to say, this isn't what I would choose, and I give up. Okay, it's bigger than me. I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I'm sick of this, I want it to be over, but railing against it at this point, maybe I just need to surrender. The thing that's interesting about Joseph is that he didn't only surrender, because a huge part of Joseph's story is that he also took action where it was possible, right? He sees the story, he sees what happened to him as God's will, and that he was able to that's why he ended up in Egypt. But then, getting to Egypt, he saw an opportunity where he could actually play a role in saving the whole region. Lots and lots and lots of lives. And so he's this interesting combination of being willing to surrender and being willing to be guided into action. In other words, being willing to accept when he can't change circumstances, and be willing to take up the call when he can change circumstances. And I find this to be really useful and instructive to us, because it's not either or. We don't just surrender to the events of the world. That would not be okay. That is certainly not what Judaism tells us to do when we see injustice or other kinds of things that need repair, right? But there are moments when things don't go the way we want them to. And we have to just say, I can't change this. It's bigger than me. And accept it and surrender. And I in particular, I'm feeling that way this Shabbat, and perhaps you are too. So my wish for us, my prayer for us on this Shabbat is that we discern, which are the moments that require us to say, this is bigger than me. I'm going to release my frustration, my anger, all of the protest in me. I'm going to just go with it. And my life doesn't look like I want it to look. Okay, this is how it is. And I'm going to find a peace within this. And when it is that we look at the conditions of the world and we do rail, we do say, no, this is not how it's meant to be. I'm going to fight this. It's discernment between those two things. And may we each find wisdom to be able to discern well, to find peace when peace must be found, to act when action is what's needed. Shabbat Shalom. Yeah. We're going to now return the Torah to the ark. Please rise.
Page 374. Natan at the bottom. Aleinu nishabeach l'adon hakol, v'atekedu na'al yotzeh b'reishit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, ve'lo samanu k'mishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, ve'goraleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu koreim, u'mishtahavim u'modim, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Mighty night,
I realized I forgot to say something really important about connecting the two places where it says Hatachat Elohim Anochi, which is, maybe you knew this, I mean, maybe it's obvious, but when Jacob says it to Rachel, you know, Jacob and Rachel are Joseph's parents, and ultimately the child they are able to produce together first is Joseph. And so interesting that Jacob says that same thing that Joseph says it, and they're both acknowledging the limits of their control.
Yosef means added onto, so Yasher Koach for adding on to that.
Why, thank you. Always with the pun. So good. Count on you for that. All right, we are going to end as we always do by thinking about the people we love who are no longer with us. If this is the first week since the death of someone you love, this is Shabbat for you. I invite you to rise and tell us who you're remembering. And if you're on Zoom, you can always, of course, write that name in the chat. And if this is Shloshim for you, the first 30 days since the death of someone you love, I invite you to rise and tell us who you're remembering. And if this is Shana for you, if you're in the first year since the death of someone you love, I invite you to tell us who you're remembering. I'm remembering my father, Eli Tamoner. And if this is a yahrzeit for you, I invite you to rise and tell us who you're remembering. We all rise in company with the mourners in our midst. And we remember these recent losses in our congregational community. Paul Michael Davidson, father of Karen Schlossberg, grandfather of Harry and Jonathan Schlossberg. Ruth Hayden Miles, mother of Barbara Halper and mother-in-law of Jan Halper. Chris Robeson, father of Dexter Scott, father-in-law of Emma Scott, grandfather of Murphy and Simon. Abe Schumer, father of Chuck Schumer, father-in-law of Iris Weinschall, grandfather of Jessica and Allison, and great-grandfather of Noah. And these yahrzeits: Vivian Bader, Bernard Bender, Ruth Bender, Shirley Blank, Arthur Block, Jordan Bloom, Abraham Berloff, Suzanne Brooks, Robert Semberg, Bessie Cohen, Alexander Davidson, Joe Dosick, Doris Helen Huggins Dozier, Paul Efros, Gussie Epstein, Abraham Frankel, Gladys Goldbetter, Elias Goldstein, Benjamin Goldstein, Edward Goodman, Sylvia Greengold, Isaac Heifetz, Kate Heller, Joseph Hyman, Bernie Himes, Fanny Egelheimer, Solomon Egelheimer, Louis Husta, Bernard Calvin, Linda Cartman, Stanley Casacove, Samuel Katz, Ira Kellner, Marvin Kochman, Maximilian Corner, Michael Kraus, Charlotte Kriegel, Joseph Lechner, Ruth Litoff, Russell Lovett, Luisa Spiro Marks, Lillian Martin, Bridie May, William Merrick, Catherine Nathan, Harry Needle, Alfred Newman, Rebecca Newman, Barbara Perlberg, Fanny Pacheski, Alex Rubinowitz, Stephen Ravitch, Betty Schellenberg, Max Schwartz, Jose Shapira, Corporal Schatz, Milton Schiller, Joseph Silverberg, Abraham Silverstein, Marvin Spector, Hannah Steiner, Joseph Weeder, Jules Weil, Robert Weinberger, Philip Wolfson. Holding them all together, we say Zichron Nam Livracha, may their memories be an everlasting blessing. As we turn to the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 598. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shri Rabba.
Amen.
Be'alma divra chirute v'amlich machute. B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayed l'chol et Yisrael. Ba'agala u'vizman karev v'ibru. Amen.
Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabba Mevarach le'alamu le'almei almaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitrumam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal Shnei Kodeshah
Berichu.
Le'elamin kol berchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'morvam. Uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. May the one who makes peace make peace for all who mourn. And we say together, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'morvam. Uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'morvam. Uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom. If you're on Zoom, feel free.